Some of you who have been following these videos will know that I've just concluded a series on Gideon. I was urged by a friend to pick up the story of Elijah, and having prayed, I felt I'd like to do that. Elijah was a prophet. I think it's interesting for us to ponder for a moment, what is a prophet? Sometimes one hears people like Winston Churchill or Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela are spoken of as prophets. Why are they called prophets? Well, to be honest, I think because they have some of the characteristics of Bible prophets. They speak into the future with a kind of courage. They're very often men who are out of step with the modern culture. They stand out. They've got a voice that speaks into the future, and often they're vindicated as time goes by. And so they sound like Bible prophets. But of course, they're a bit different in that, for instance, Churchill was a student of history and actually said, the further you look back, the further you will see forward. So his ability to speak powerfully into the future was different to the Bible prophet. The Bible prophet doesn't claim to be a student of history. The Bible prophet is somebody that God just took hold of. God just apprehended people, and then they became his mouthpiece. And so, yes, of course, they'll be out of step with the human race. And of course, they will speak with great clarity about the future. Elijah is a classic Bible prophet. And for him, as I say, not a student of history, but one absolutely taken up by God. And his testimony was, I stand in the presence of God. And as such, he came and spoke to his generation. Now, his generation was the Jewish nation, God's special treasure that he'd chosen from all the families of the earth. They uniquely had a relationship with them and promised them a great king and gave them a great king in David and his son Solomon. And this special people were there meant to be representing him in the world. They were God's royal priesthood for the nations. But tragically, by the time Elijah came on the scene, they'd kind of forgotten who they were, forgotten why they were on the planet. And after Solomon, some only 58 years, the king was now a guy called King Ahab. There have been 7 kings since Solomon, each one worse than the last. And now Ahab had married Jezebel, and the nation's official religion was now Baal worship. So here, God's special people, God's treasure on the earth. And to worship God was now illegal. Elijah came into that context as a voice. Now, of course, that's hugely relevant for us. Some of us have lived through a culture that we haven't seen 7 monarchs in the UK. We've got the same monarch. We've seen many prime ministers come and go. And certainly we've seen the culture change dramatically. And now these days you can't really say things that we used to be able to say because, well, it would be illegal or you'd be in trouble. Yeah, that's what happened in Elijah's day. They're supposed to be God's people, but they'd lost their way. And a prophetic voice was needed. Today, a prophetic voice is needed. That's what the church is here for, that we might speak to a culture that's lost its way. God help us as we get into this story of Elijah. God bless you.